we are again here today on the fourth day of this FDP for this session. Kalurka sir, may I request you to please turn on the camera and mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please. Thank you, sir. So most of the participants are joining, but they will be joining gradually. I'm taking this privilege to introduce one of my favorite teacher, Dr. Kallurkar sir, with all of you. Uh, Dr. S.P. Kallurkar sir is the principal at AET's Atharva College of Engineering, Mumbai. He is B Mechanical, MMS, and doctorate in Industrial Engineering. He has worked in industries as Bajaj Auto Limited and Kirloskar Brothers Limited, Pune, for the 5 years. And he is having total 42 years of experience to his credit. He is founder head of the Department of Production Engineering at SGGS Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded, principal at AISS College of Engineering, Pune, and founder principal, Marathwada Mitra Mandals College of Engineering, Pune. He is a recognized research guide for BIT Ranchi, SP Pune University, SRTM University, Nanded, SCB University, Amravati, Dr. B.A. Marathwada University, Aurangabad, Solapur University, Pacific University, Udaipur, etc. 21 candidates, including one international student, have received PhD in mechanical production, industrial engineering and management under his guidance, and 6 candidates are working now. He has published more than 100 papers at international and national level of journals, conferences and seminars, and having more than 400 of citations to his credit. He has filed 2 patents in mechanical and Internet of Things domain. He was a member and auditor under TICWIP Phase 1 World Bank supported project for Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technology University, Lahore, Government College of Engineering, Aurangabad, Government Polytechnic, Pune, and RIT Sakharale. He was expert for TICWIP 2 at NPIU MHRD New Delhi, during which he was a study team member for the state of Uttar Pradesh and mentor handholder for the state of Jharkhand. He was also auditor and mentor for NIT Patna and NIT Agartala, along with 2 institutes from West Bengal and 1 from Andhra Pradesh and 1 from the Gujarat state. That was my former institute, that is Shantilal Shah Engineering College, Bhavnagar. He was also the TICWIP auditor of our college. He is now auditor mentor under TICWIP 3 project for SVNIT Surat, NIT Rourkela, KLE Technology Universities, BVB COE Hubli, and Government College of Engineering, Chhattisgarh. He is founder, coordinator of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, established by DST and MHRD Government of India at SGGS IET Nanded, which was rated as outstanding EDC continuously for 3 years by DST. He has organized 4 international conferences, 11 national seminars, and 35 entrepreneurship awareness camps. He was editor for the Journal of Engineering Education and past president member of Engineering Education Foundation, Pune. He has executed 2 R&D projects in entrepreneurship development founded by AICT and MHRD Government of India. This was just a brief introduction about him. I am now not taking much of his time and requesting Dr. Kalurkar sir to please take over this session for the purpose that he will be sharing a very noble content today with all of us. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure and thank you for the nice introduction. So I'll start with my PowerPoint.
Sir will be presenting, yeah, mass customization in higher education to match the human power needs for Industry 4.0 revolution. Yeah.
I hope I'm audible now, madam.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So, especially which was by Germans. There is a change in skill sets, need of skill sets. Certain skills which were required in the industries in past do become obsolete, and certain skills which were not taught earlier become the need of the time. So from this perspective, we will look at blended learning, mass customization in higher education, and how it can match with the manpower needs of Industry 4.0. But to begin with, we'll first concentrate on the institutional side. Now, if we see the problem of Indian higher education system, and I am in this field for last more than 35 years now, and I was lucky enough at AGGS that I used to get the exposure at state and national level right from my young age. And in many of the programs, it was found that there is too much time which is spent on assessing the problems rather than creating a friendly, tangible solutions. We always discuss, even if many of the platforms of industry institute interaction, the industry group is on one side and the academia is on one side, and rarely there is a match. In fact, I personally guided one PhD on the theme of industry institute interaction, and we could come up with certain characters which are required for education sector to follow and also industry to follow. We implemented one such thing at Institute of Engineers, Pune, about 15 years back. We were able to convince about 20 small-scale industries who have certain problems, and about 15-20 engineering colleges who are ready to work with Institution of Engineers. And we developed a team of experts who will go to the colleges and teach the students how to select an appropriate project for your final engineering, which will have application in industry. And at the same time, we had conducted few programs for the people from industry on the platform of Institute of Engineers, how to get the work done from academic people. Because the major problem is the speed. And we tried to bridge that gap. And I am happy to say that many of the industry people said that we would have spent few lakhs of rupees, say 5 lakhs of rupees to get this problem solved from a consultant, which your students and teachers have solved it for no cost. But what is the problem is that we keep on assessing the problem and rarely we come up with a tangible solution. Of course, the new education policy 2020, we find that there is some tangible solution and attempt is being made at the state and central government levels in all the states and at the national level, create a conducive environment for implementation of this education policy, national education policy. Some of the aspects which are there in the national education policy also we'll see here. There is always a mismatch in supply and demand in terms of quality and quantity, both. The NASSCOM report also says that large number of population, graduate engineers, is unemployable. Recently there was a meeting going on at the Pune University, and some of the senior academicians asked a question that if the graduate engineers are not employable, why do you employ them then? Get your lot from any other countries. Don't employ Indian engineers in Indian industries. I mean, it's little hot discussion. You know, Pune is a place where always hot discussions take place. And then there was a small correction from the industry side. We don't say they are unemployable, they are not ready to use. So there is a difference now. We need to create the engineers who are ready to use, because now the industry does not have time to train the people. Maybe some of the teachers who are attending and would have worked in industries. I started my career with Bajaj Auto in 1977, so 1 year was spent only on training. But today industry does not have that much time. They want ready to use kind of people, and that's the reason we have to give that kind of manpower. To give an example, I was working with this BVB College of Engineering Hubli, KLE TechEd. And fortunately our Honorable Chairman AICT and Mrs. Sudha Murthy, they are the alumni of this institute. So naturally they keep on giving appropriate inputs to their alma mater. So now what they had done, recently in their mechanical engineering department, 2 labs were set up by Bosch. The university offered 4 courses exclusively for Bosch, and can you imagine, Bosch picked up 80 students from the same college for the unit which serves only high-end cars, that is Mercedes and BMW, at very nice prices. So what is important is that minimizing that mismatch between supply and demand. This is an example. And college making an attempt to minimize the mismatch, and one single company picking up out of 120, 80 students at a time with a good package. It was something around 15 lakhs starting package kind of things. Another important thing is that we need to understand that there is a diversity among the students. Different types of students look at study from different perspectives. So our education system should be able to provide these things, so flexibility in our system. There is a mushrooming growth of the institutions, and because of that, in some sectors, the quality of education has gone down. But one of the major reasons for this mushroom growth was our gross enrollment ratio was quite low, and we wanted to double it in 5 years' time. So that was the reason that unless you have got large number of institutions, how will you go for it? And in past, there were ineffective policies at national levels. It means policies were the top in nature, but the implementation was not so proper. Even you may see right from Kothari Commission to the latest education policies. But now we are finding that for the new education policy 2020, conducive environment is being developed in the form of credit transfers and all that. Hope so. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because as on date is not a proven thing. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that the new education policy 2020, if it gets implemented in its true sense, will be one of the best education hub for the whole world in time to come. If you see the GER, our GER in 15-16 was 24.5. And over 5 years, there was a rise of about 2 to 3%. As per the data, it was 26-27%. The CNN reported that it is not even that, but it is 20%. Even the global average is 30% gross enrollment ratio, means large number of students in that age group, youth in this age group, should be part of the higher education. Developed countries like UK has 59, Japan 59, 55, USA has 34, because probably their education pattern is different. Learning on demand is more practiced in US as compared to undergoing a specific course. Even China is 28. That's the reason we increase the number of seats. But while increasing the number of seats, we could not concentrate much on the quality of education. And more important on its flexibility. We always treat the monkeys and elephant in the same manner, without realizing that their characteristics are different, their aspirations are different, their qualities are different. So we need not offer the same course to each one. So what is important is that if you want to develop the manpower for Industry 4.0, we must keep in mind this need of flexibility in our higher education system or technical education system. And keep it in mind one more important thing, that our learners are heterogeneous in nature in terms of educational background. Now if you see, even a science graduate can come to engineering, the new education policy. First time in the country we will be able to teach engineering in the mother tongue. Because even if we are communicating in English, a thought process we are thinking in our mother tongue.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Yeah. Sir, are you changing your slides?
Yeah.
But it is not
visible at your end?
No, it is not visible. Just first slide is visible.
Okay, then I don't know.
Convert it. Yeah.
I'm on fourth slide. One second.
Yeah. So that I asked.
Are you is it visible now?
Now it is visible, sir.
Right, ma'am. Right. Okay. The full screen was not visible. I will use this way.
Ji, sir.
Right.
Fine.
And if you want, then it can be zoomed also. My professor in charge in the lab is helping me. Yeah.
Yes.
It is
Now,
visible, right?
It is okay, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
So इधर जाओगे मैं नीचे कैसे हूँ? यहाँ से हूँ. Okay. Right. Ma'am, is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are trying to understand why all this is required. So learners are heterogeneous mass in terms of education background. So I was saying that first time BSc can take admission to engineering. Also, we can learn engineering in the mother tongue, so that we'll be able to produce better engineers who are good in technology rather than maybe the command over the language. Then they could be heterogeneous in age in time to come, income levels, it is already there, even the learning experiences and aspirations for which they are learning. And this will change more. This particular aspect will become a predominant thing in our education sector in time to come. So in order to catch the lot, what is important is you must be able to address all these things. Recently I was attending a conference and a question was asked, even now while large number of students are opting to go abroad, and while a lot of money, Indian currency, lot of money is going abroad in the form of their fees and living expenses and all that. And why can't we provide those kind of education systems in our institutions? Because the top class, world class universities will never come to us. Even if you open our doors, it's only the mediocre universities which will come to our country. So what is possibility is that we raise the standard. And one of the important aspects of raising the standards is enhancing the flexibility of learning. Let the student decide the pace of learning. Madam was mentioning, I was auditor for Shantilal Shah College of Engineering, Bhavnagar. And the basic philosophy of TechCube, when the name TechCube was not coined, and there was something like a center of excellence which was likely to be implemented in India, and at that time when we were, certain meetings were going on with MHRD, and then we were involved from the side of TTTI Bhopal. I think that we were about 15 people from Maharashtra, and of course 10-15 from Gujarat also were there in our team. And when we were told all these things, pace of learning, flexibility in education, and we were not able to grasp what these World Bank people are telling. What is that they want? But now, after so many years, we are able to understand what they wanted at that time. They said your Indian education system needs these kinds of changes. So TechCube came into existence with this perspective, in spite of the fact that though we are practicing TechCube since last 15 years almost now, still all our institutions have not reached to this level. And we don't have that complete flexibility which is expected. But it is need of the time. In Industry 4.0, people will say, I want to learn on demand. Give me only a course having 20 hours, contract hours, but I should be able to fetch a job, or I should be able to solve a problem that I'm facing in my company. So these kind of courses, nano degrees, capsule courses will be required in time to come. There is increasing demand for more individualized learning paths. It means I should be able to decide my path. Okay, chalk and talk, or I want out of 20 hours, I want only 4 hours of chalk and talk. Maybe I want 10 hours of virtual classroom kind of things. And remaining, I want to have some self-learning material. Or I want to go for a project-based learning. Now, whether I will get all such kind of facilities, or can I go to some university abroad, get few credits, and my university will accept that? Yes, the UGC has recently issued a circular about 2 months back, and that asked for the views of the experts on this. That UGC wants our Indian universities and even the autonomous colleges to have tie-up with the foreign universities, foreign institutions in the form of credit transfer. And now we have seen that online virtual meetings is quite a normal thing now. So maybe some of the international students also will take up our virtual courses without coming to India. Our students will undertake their courses, maybe physical or maybe in virtual form. So what is important is that the system should provide inbuilt mechanism for that credit transfer. And there should be individualized learning path. Student should be able to accept this. See, even when the changes in this education system were likely to happen, one of the most important word which was always told to us was by the World Bank experts, keep in mind that education is a tradable commodity. Sometimes we may not like these words, but we have to accept that education is a tradable commodity and I should know how to trade it the best. And when I'm talking to the people from Gujarat, you know how to trade anything the best in the world. So that's something we will have to think of and incorporate in our education pattern, education system, our college working pattern. And for this reason, maybe that certain kind of governmental controls still may have to be reduced. TechCube is meant for that. There is a diversity of the students' body which is growing fast. They come with different backgrounds, they come from different family aspirations. They have their own different kinds of family aspirations. And the question is, how do we satisfy all of them? Why do the students go to the developed countries? Because there they find that all these solutions are possible. Their education system is so flexible that all these things can be incorporated comfortably. I know one student who was son of an industrialist whose turnover was about 300 CR in 2007, 2008. And they were aspiring to achieve a turnover of 1000 CR. And his son was a mediocre student in engineering college in Pune. He was always saying, I don't like to go to college. And when he was detained by the college, and then I was asked by the father, please do something and see that his detention is taken care. Because he said, मुझे college में जाने का मन ही नहीं करता है. And then he got an admission. They are into automobile sector, so he got an admission in university in Detroit. And then he started calling his father. आजकल कॉलेज से घर जाने को मन ही नहीं करता है. What is the difference? What makes student to hang around the campus? We need to develop the ways, means, systems, procedures to help the students to hang around the campus. In one of my engineering colleges where I was a principal, founder principal in Pune, Marathwada Mitra Mandal, there we tried to implement this. And the director of Mercedes-Benz, he was staying nearby, and he said, sir, I want to admit my son to your college in mechanical engineering. Of course, at admission, after 15-20 days, the boy told his mom, Mom, college से घर आने को मन ही नहीं करता है, college में रहने के लिए मन कर रहा है. And then he called me and said, अरे first time I am seeing कि a boy is saying कि मुझे college से घर आने का मन नहीं कर रहा है. I am more happy in college. It means you have to give that flexibility for everything. That is your choice. And once you do that, probably we will be able to satisfy all types of students, community. And there is a variety in pace of learning and goal of learning for the students. Few people want to learn at low pace. Whether our education system will support that. Now many of the institutions which are autonomous undertaking are likely to become deemed university. It's being possible that you can complete your degree in 6 years instead of 4 years and concentrate more on internship or concentrate more on something different. IIT Bombay is planning to come up with a concept. You get admission for PhD, you work, and at the end of your PhD work, if you can go for a startup, you need not submit the thesis. You prove it in the market that whatever is your new idea is marketable and earn the PhD degree. Something like this. This kind of flexibility is need of the hour. Even the goal of learning of different people could be different. It could be someone wants to go in self-employment, someone wants to go for higher education, someone wants to quickly get a job.
Sir, the slides are not changing. Are you changing it in a full screen mode or what?
No, 1 second, madam. I have not changed the slide.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yeah.
Huh? Sir, so gadbad ho jaye. 1 second.
Yeah, please, sir.
1 second. नहीं वो जो आपने उधर लिया के रखा था उसको इधर देर होती. Dr. Bhavin Shah is helping me, madam. Next.
We need to go.
वो नहीं ले रहे वहां से.
कहाँ से ले लेगा?
कहाँ से? यहाँ से लेगा अभी?
हाँ सर, ले रहा है.
ठीक.
Just down. Okay,
Madam, is it visible now? The next need?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Need is
So in
visible.
fact, I was talking, I have an habit of moving here and there. So on the same PPT, I was giving so many examples.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry for that. It
No, no,
was
no,
too
no,
much.
that's all okay. I thought again the problem is there that you are changing the slide, but it is not visible. So that
I was
this you.
visible the
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
So need is anytime, anywhere learning for any purpose. How do I design my systems so that my students have access to anytime, anywhere learning? So we tried about this in Atharva College 5 years back. So I used to talk to my faculty members. We want to march towards anytime, anywhere learning. Of course, for any purpose is the next part of that. So e-learning, providing self-learning materials to the people is in fact a need of that. And here the mass customization in higher and technical education plays an important role. And it can even be for the different purposes. So when we talk about mass customization, many of us could be the faculty members of production engineering. So we know the mass production, where there was a lot of cost cutting, and because of that the cost of production went down. But now the aspirations of customers are changing, and there's a shift from mass production to mass customization. Of course, this is not new, something new I'm talking about, because with the help of Kaizen, just in time and all those things, we are practicing this mass customization to a larger extent. Let every customer feel that the product is designed for that customer. There is something unique in the product that I am supplying to that customer. So we need to have that kind of things even in our education system. One of the methods by which it can be done is we convert our courses into mini courses. Instead of having, say, 40 courses or 35 courses in 4 years duration in engineering, you may have 350 courses. You may add other under 350, 500 courses from other disciplines rather, which are non-engineering. And an appropriate combination of all of them as per the need of the students becomes a concept of mass customization. We were having a meeting in Pune University, Board of Studies, about 6 months back, and we had one professor from a university in Mumbai, and he said, we have stopped admitting the students for the courses, program. We admit them for a subject or course. They earn that credit. We have got credit transfer facility with many other universities. Either they go to other universities or learn something there, again come back, ultimate degree. They may ask from our university or they may ask for some other university. So now this scenario is coming. So what is important is we have to think of minimum cost. How? Because then if there is more variety, the cost is likely to increase. I must offer a course with minimum cost so that larger number of students will opt for it. And how can I satisfy large number of students simultaneously? There is a need to have a perpetual cost cutting system and enhance the quality. It could be in the form of I am using 10 hours of teaching by a concerned professor. It is the institutional management perspective. I am asking the students to take 20% AICT also is saying now, but maybe 10 courses from Swayam, Coursera or any other platform. I am asking the students to work on certain projects, and there is a weightage for each thing that they are doing. What will happen in the process? I am paying to the teacher only for 10 hours. Maybe that I am not of the opinion that then remove all the people from your role. Not that way. But then the service of that faculty member can be utilized for somewhere else. There could be few other teaching assistants who can help the undergraduate students to do the things on their own. Take up some SWAYAM courses, Coursera courses, or whatever it is. So we need to develop the systems so that the cost is reduced. But whatever is the need of learning of the student is fulfilled. That is more important. I may design a different course for different students. I have got 60 students in the class. But all the 60 students are not studying all the same, all of them are not studying the same subjects. What is happening now? They might be studying different subjects. So timetable preparation will be a very Herculean task. Or there could be a shift from face-to-face teaching more to online. That's why anytime, anywhere learning will have to be given more importance. Now, what is mass customization? It is a marketing and manufacturing technique that combines the flexibility and personalization of custom-made products with low unit cost associated with mass production. Mass production deals to low unit cost. But now even with mass customization also, I have to see that the cost is minimum. Otherwise, no one will come to my program. It's the process of production of goods and services tailored to suit the needs of customers in mass market. So what I am doing is, I am trying to satisfy each and every customer as per the desire of the customers, as per the aspirations of the customer. So it is the same thing now when it comes to education, because Industry 4.0 will keep on changing the demand. Am I having that flexibility in my education system to match with that changing demand? So we need to deliver teaching in variety of technical formats, teaching context for variety of target groups. So we will have to creating learning material with craftsmanship approach is very important. Otherwise, what is happening at present, at least, many of us, because of pandemic, whatever way we were teaching in the classroom, we teach even from home. But because of that, sometimes the problem is the students' attentiveness may not be there. So what is important is tailor-made plus mass production, assembled to order. This particular criteria has to be brought into our education pattern also. Open educational resources is one of the methods so that the cost comes down. And we develop the educational program that satisfies the specific demands of the learners. So if you take a few concepts from the industrial world who is already practicing this mass customization, the end product is assembled with the demand of customer as a starting point. You know what we do? Customer demand with the help of house of quality is converted into product specifications. Once we develop the product specifications, we develop the bill of material. I'm talking from production engineering perspective, and then we start producing the things. And then, because each customer being different, I'm able to offer it to the different customers in a different way. Same thing I will have to do it in education also. Depending on the aspirations of the students, need of the students, why he has come to college and all these things, I should be able to provide an appropriate combination of subjects. So counseling plays a very important role in this, at the teacher's end or maybe the professional counselors. And it can be translated to the field of education where courses are in capsule forms. We are following variety of learning paths, self-learning methods, project-based methods and all that. And the curriculum is also assembled using mixture of open and closed learning, what I am saying, materials and services. Of course, this thing will need IT, advanced IT infrastructure and configuration at the end of level of our colleges. Maybe tomorrow even at the end of the learners. But that's the reason the government is trying to develop the IT infrastructure, so that the IT materials can be used by learners in a more effective manner. Now, when it comes to mass customized and higher education, it is basically an institutional level methods. We need to gear up our institutions to be flexible enough. Madam would be remembering, probably when I used to come to Shantilal Shah College, I used to sometimes say about this, that unless there is a fundamental change in our teaching styles,
Yes, sir. Yes.
education pattern will not be able to satisfy the needs of TechCube, because TechCube has come into existence taking into account all these things. Someone at World Bank level thought that India also, if India wants to be a superpower by 2020, I mean, that was the time when in 2005, 2002 onwards, they started talking about this. So they said, if you really want to be a superpower, techno-economical, then what you need is minimum 100 IITs or the top institutions, centers of excellence in engineering education. So with that, the concept started coming. So we need to redesign the structure and process of learning. Because the theme is Industry 4.0, we are finding that the demand of the manpower from industry is going to be changed. And it will change very frequently. As they start implementing different aspects of Industry 4.0, there will be demand on different kinds of skill sets. And certain skill sets which we are offering now will become outdated. So we will have to have certain inbuilt mechanism to offer the courses to our students, to train our students as lifelong learners from time to time. So there is a need of large-scale distributed method that offers serious education in hybrid mode. Large-scale distributed method, that plays a very important role. I was talking to a former deputy director of BITS Pilani. We were sitting in College of Engineering Pune when Professor Sasrabuddhe, present chairman of AICT, was the director. And casually, Mr. Manke, who happened to be from BITS Pilani, he said that, what's wrong? A student takes admission in College of Engineering Pune. He learns 3 subjects at COEP, 1 in Film Institute, and for 1 he goes to Ferguson College. I am giving example of Pune city. I hope many of you would be aware of these colleges. Film Institute is the best in Pune, one of its kind. Ferguson College is the best for arts education. So students should be able to take up all such courses. And then he will be a complete engineer which is required from the society. Society does not need an engineer who is good only in technology. Society also needs an engineer who understands the societal problems, who can communicate with different segments of society in able manner. So all these qualities are required to be imbibed. Of course, these 12 graduate attributes talk on that only. So ultimately, whatever we are talking in last 5-6 years, it boils down the same. I am taking an example of Namdar Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He initiated that concept of Servants of India Society, and he was political guru of Mahatma Gandhiji. But his philosophy was, be part of the existing government system, And being a part of the existing government system, you try to change the system. What does it mean? We are not supposed to throw the complete education system that we have. But what is required is that we, being the part of this education system, we try to imbibe certain changes so that what is need of the time is implemented. That time Namdar Gopal Krishna Gokhale ji was talking about need of freedom. He was a freedom fighter. Today, we need a freedom from our existing mindset as academicians. And we need to be more flexible, more open-minded in that. For that, even a shop system of education will be required. Or cafeteria approach in education is one of the best words. I mean, we don't want to convert our colleges into teaching shops, but to some extent, we will have to work like a shopkeeper who will say कि नहीं आपको ताजमहल चाय नहीं चाहिए, ठीक है, सोसाइटी चाय ले लीजिए, दूसरा चाय ले लीजिए. I want everything. So like that. Oh, you want this course? Okay, I'll arrange for you. I will talk to a professor in Harvard and arrange for your learning that course in online now. I mean, I was working in Kirloskar Brothers, and once my boss told me, I was a marketing engineer, whatever customer wants, you should be able to say yes and ask us how can we do that. I mean, when we are trying to quote for a global tender, where the customers is not going to change for you. In that time, my boss was teaching me. Whatever is possible, you have to do it. Surprisingly, I was in Gujarat. I was posted in Gujarat for 15 days. And when I went to my Baroda office of Kirloskar dealer, I was asked to visit Jyoti Baroda. I'm giving an example, assuming that many of you are from Gujarat, some of you are from Baroda also. And my role of visiting Jyoti Baroda was to see, can I sell Kirloskar pumps to Jyoti? So what I did, I went to the project manager of Jyoti Pumps and said that whichever projects you are quoting or tenders you are filling, there are certain areas where you are not manufacturing those pumps. So why don't you buy from Kirloskar? And we will also do the same thing. And it clicked. That is, choose from variety. See, Kirloskar and Jyoti are competitors, but at the same time we can be collaborators of each other. And we worked on so many projects after that together. Whichever segment we are not manufacturing, we are buying from them. Whichever segment they are not manufacturing, they are buying from them, us. Something like this. So what is important is you need not offer everything in your college shop system, but you should have an information and contact who is offering what, depending on the need of the students. Can I put my student with that? That is the beauty of credit transfers facilities. When UGC is talking about credit transfer, it is this, conversion it into the shop system of education. I hope, madam, you are able to see the changes now in my slides. Now the courses are in capsule form. Yeah, thank you. The courses are in capsule forms, and I can have variety of these combinations across the disciplines. That is important. I'm talking about the same even in the previous examples. So across the disciplines, arts, commerce, science, literature, HR, engineering, maybe sometimes medical, and all these combinations will create variety of programs. So each student coming to a college will be ultimately taking a degree which is different than others. So this kind of flexibility is required with the advancements of industrial needs. So we will have to think in that direction. So it is nothing but a modular pattern of education. The way we have modular kitchen and we can keep on changing depending on the needs. There is a modular pattern of education and then there is a credit bank system. Now new education policy already has agreed for this credit bank system. Universities are supposed to have credit banks. The affiliated colleges offering the courses. The student can take up any subject from anywhere within the gamut of institutions which are not affiliated to the university, but where the credit transfer facility is there. You can go anywhere in the world, earn the credit, put it in the credit bank. Once you earn, say 100 credits, you ask for a degree. Or 200 credits, you ask for 100 credits, you ask for a diploma. 200 credits, you ask for a degree. And you keep on adding that and keep on taking variety of degrees, variety of nano degrees kind of things. Because people will need nano degrees in time to come rather than the degrees. It's not enough that I am a mechanical engineer and throughout my life I am a mechanical engineer. I am on the academic committee of ARI, Automotive Research Association of India. They have got tie-up with large number of institutions. I think somewhere in 2007 or 8, an attempt was made with Vellore Institute of Technology for an MTech course with moderate 20 intake capacity. That theory will the student will learn at Vellore and the dissertation he will complete in ARAI, because ARAI is an apex body under the Ministry of Heavy Industries for automobile sector with lot of powers also. But they are also into research. And then it was found that industries wanted these kind of students. The first batch of 20 was picked up like a hot cake. And then ARAI has realized over years that yes, this is a good thing we can do. Today their intake capacity has increased from 20 to 500. Recently they also started a PhD program. Okay, the degree PhD will be offered by some university. There are a few foreign universities also now associated with them. It's a new model of higher education, technical education in our country, where the practicing world and the academic world are coming together and supporting the students in equal manner. And recently they invested about $5 million to develop these academic capabilities when they wanted to shift from 20 to 500. But it's one of the most successful models. Now what is important is that flexibility, the modular pattern. You learn something there, something here. For some time there was a mismatch. Even when I was dealing with the scientists of ARAI, and many of them had done their doctorates, MS from US. And they used to talk only in a very high standard language, and I used to bring them down, sir, ye apne education, undergraduate, postgraduation ke liye thoda niche aaiye. Something like this. But then over the years they learn and then enhance the capacity. Even majority of their students are still accepted to the industrial world because they work on industry sponsored projects. So now same thing, credit transfer amongst institutional globally, as I was telling you. This is going to be one of the lead. So methodology could be online, distance mode, project based and face to face. All these combinations we'll have to incorporate, and different students may have different stress on them. So these are the methods. I know each one of you are already exposed to this. I'm not talking anything new. MOOCs courses, flipped classroom, even the MIT Open Courseware, which is the oldest Their courses also can be utilized. We have now NPTEL. We have got virtual lab Sakshat facility from Ministry of HRD, now Ministry of Education. And I'm sure all of you are using these facilities, so nothing is new. Then maybe the elicitation or process of flexibility. All these things will have to be brought into picture. We will have to create an infrastructural logistics, that is collaborative learning, where peer learning is taking place. So maybe certain chat rooms will have to be provided where the students pose the questions, other students are giving the answers, giving the supports, and together the class comes up with some solution and teacher is there as a supervisor in a silent manner. It may have to be adaptive in nature. We will have to develop the cognitive capability of the students. They learn something and then they implement that. So infrastructure will have to be adaptive in nature. Depending on need of the customer, need of the students, can I offer a different methodology so that I can attract large number of students. The most important thing is our system will have to be transparent. At the time of admissions also the student knows under what kind of system he is going to learn. And a complete pictorial depiction is available to the students. We can use open digital learning materials, which you must be already using now because we are forced to do all these things because of pandemic. So the way, 2 months back I was delivering a lecture in an international conference and we were discussing that the pandemic also has given one boon, and the boon is the world has realized the importance of digital technologies. The advancements in digital technologies are taking place at tremendous pace at present as compared to it was in past. And all of them, the Microsoft we are using, and they have very bigger size of labs which are working on this, developing these technologies. And we'll have to develop more and more learning pathways. If you look at it from supply and demand side, supply side is learning material, learning services, teaching efforts. Whereas on demand side, it is the learner's goal and the societal needs. So what's important? Societal needs, I have put it here because though we say a student is the customer, but in a normal setup, whatever customer wants may be provided. But now, in case of education context, sometimes the customer may not know what the customer needs. Customer may be knowing what customer want, but in long term what they need, they may not be knowing. So here is the more importance that education system should provide what a student need rather than what a student want. So that also we have to keep in mind. And sometimes, if needed, reorient our students, do the appropriate level of counseling, what is right and what is not right for them. Because sometimes customer education plays a very important role before the customer places an order. In this case, the order is nothing but taking an admission for a specific course. Now, what we did since 2016, we made an experiment because we thought, I'm just discussing a small case study of Atharva College, that we were knowing that blended learning is going to come. One of the reasons was there is a conference which takes place for last more than 20 years in Berlin. It's called as Online Educa Berlin. And in 2003, I went there and attended the conference. But truly speaking, I just did not understand anything what they are talking about because I had nil exposure about online education at that time. So I just went to Germany, enjoyed, attended the conference, saw so many things. My boss said, "चलो गए हो तो एक हफ्ता यूरोप घूम के आओ." I was happy. चलो जाके घूम के आते हैं, something like this. But then in 2007, I thought of going back again because in 2003 I had just enjoyed a Europe tour, I know, and I did nothing. I mean, there was no value addition in me because I didn't understand anything what they are talking about. So what I did in another 2 years time, maybe from 2005, 6, 7, I tried to study it on my own. What is this online education? क्या e-learning होता है? ये कैसे होता है? लोग कैसे पढ़ाते हैं? And all that. And then in 2007, again I went. This time I was with a different institution and my boss was that great industrialist. He said, I want you to bring something for the college. खाली हाथ नहीं आना है वापिस, नहीं तो फिर आपका जाने आने का पूरा खर्चा आपके सैलरी में से काट लेंगे. Something like this. So I went there. Believe me, for that conference there were 2,000 participants from 95 different countries. And one of the very popular session, I would have understood a little bit about what the speaker is talking. The hall was 1,000 capacity and almost 200 people were sitting on the floor. It was so important lecture, especially for the people who are into the business of digitalization of education. There are about 300 stalls of variety of service providers in digital education. In 2007, I'm talking. And I was highly confused. खरीदे तो क्या खरीदे, किससे बात करे तो क्या बात करे, not able to understand. So what I did, I just went to a stall where they were talking about certain open source things, MOOCs basically. I had not heard about what is MOOCs at that time. And fortunately, one very senior American professor was standing there. And as a layman, in the most humble manner, I asked Professor, "Sir, I am able to understand that now if I want to go for e-learning or online education, probably two important platforms are Blackboard and WebCity. But I don't understand which I should buy or recommend to my college, which is better in our Indian circumstances." He was a very senior professor, almost 15 years elder to me. He laughed, looked at me, he laughed, put his hand on my back and said, "Come, we'll have a cup of coffee." He took me to the restaurant and while taking coffee, he said, all the developed countries have burned millions of dollars in doing all these trial and errors with digital education. As a developing country, as a professor from developing country like India, I will not advise you to spend money on this. And I would like to tell you, till today I believe in this fact. Anyone asking me money for online education means something is wrong. I immediately remember that professor who said, whatever is available free, first use that. But I said, sir, ये MOOCs तो समझ ही नहीं रहा है, कैसे implement करो? Then he said, okay, you first implement MOOCs in your college, then pose the questions, and there are people from the world who are ready to support you. And really it happened. I tried with many of my teachers of engineering. I was not successful. So I got hold of one professor of physics and said, you will implement this now, MOOCs in our college. And she thought that, चलो अभी तो हमसे भी science background के सर आपको कुछ काम दे रहे तो करके देखते हैं. She was doctorate, so she did it. That time we found that in this open source there are a large number of people who are ready to support you. I mean that was a new thing for us in 2007, 2008. So and then after that I came to Atharva in 2013. But what I was doing from 7 to 13, I started delivering lectures on e-learning. The way I'm delivering lecture today in this platform. I used to go to colleges who were once and talk to the faculty members why we should go for e-learning and why we should go for the open source in e-learning. So when I joined this Atharva College in 2013 and talked to the faculty members, one professor stood up and he said, sir, I had heard your lecture in 2009 at Thane. I was working in that college at that time. And we were so much charged by that we decided to implement this. So myself and my HOD computers, we implemented that and it was a success story in Thane. So, sir, I would like to implement these MOOCs in our college. I said, चलो अच्छा हुआ, एक तो professor engineering का आ गया, that too from computer engineering, who is ready to implement it. So, but I asked him, will you do it alone? He said, no, sir, I can't do it. I need a team of students. So he sent the message among the students, and he got about 20 students. These 20 students in the year 2013-14 worked almost day and night for 6 months. At the end, they implemented MOOCs in the college and we were the highest level of users of MOOCs in Mumbai next to IIT Bombay. And it was later on recognized also. So now the whole idea is we thought that anyway this blended learning is going to come. Now how it happened, I'll tell you. Because that's more important. Though it looks like a story, but then that stories change our thinking. In 2007 when I went to Berlin, I had one day, so I thought why not go to some university and see how the technical universities in Berlin function. So I went to the Technical University of Berlin. In fact, I was just roaming around and I saw a big building. I got attracted. I went there and saw that it was a library of a university, 7th-floor library. Bigger than any engineering college building in our college country. From there, I took librarian. I took the support of, with some professor. I went to the professor and then said, sir, I want to see your university. Is it possible? He called a lady in around age 45 and she was wearing a dress and the dress was such that she was wearing about 250-300 keys. It was just nothing but a walking, talking keyboard carrying about 250-300 keys. So she came. And then the professor said, sir wants to see the facilities, so you take him around. The idea was, even if a hall is closed, she is carrying the key and she can open the hall for me. We saw a large number of seminar halls, conference rooms, classrooms, laboratories, how the students are working 24/7 and all, so many things. At the end, she brought me to a hall of 1250 capacity and she said, this is before pandemic, students will come to college but the teacher will not come to college, something like that situation, e-learning. She said this is a hall for e-learning And then she showed me another hall of 850 capacity, which was under construction. And I asked, Madam, when you have got so many large number of classrooms, seminar halls, conference halls, plus a very big hall of 1250 capacity for e-learning, why are you building another 850 capacity? She said these days majority of the students are opting for e-learning courses because these e-learning courses are offered by the best professor in the world at the lowest cost. Because I was giving an example to professors recently. When you are teaching, you are also now offering your courses on YouTube sometimes. Some of you would be having already the channel. Now, if you try to keep in mind the heterogeneity of the students from different parts of the world, so instead of developing a course only for your own students, you make it generalized and see that your course becomes popular in YouTube by doing a little bit gimmicks here and there or marketing gimmicks here and there. And you start receiving the students from different parts of the world. Even if you are charging $10 for 1 month and you have got 1,000 students, you are earning $10,000 by sitting at your own home. But for these 1,000 students, it's hardly 10 cents per hour. But people will take your course provided you are the best in that subject. So that's what that lady was telling me. These days, everybody wants to go over e-learning courses rather than the courses offered by the professors in the university, because they are taught by the best people. The way it is applicable in their case, it's also applicable in the case of Indian professors. There are all types of students, all types of aspirants throughout the world. We are also not so bad. So with this idea, we started implementing the things. And then I started talking to my teachers, anytime, anywhere learning. Any purpose we didn't have at that time. And what we did in 2020, I think this is a data, I'm sorry, this is the data of during the starting of the pandemic last year. We then created variety of platforms. Started with MOOCs. One of our professors said, sir, VisIQ is one of the best platform. We tried that. And we found that yes, for 100 students at a time, because generally we have got 60 students in the college class, VisIQ works better. And the cost was only 30,000 rupees per year. So we purchased 1 or 2. Then other professor came and said, sir, the course networking is an American platform. It's also one of the best. There is a cost involved, but which will use only the open source part of it. And what happened during March? You remember around the lockdown was announced here. This is the second part, 23rd March. But before that, 1 week almost students stopped coming to college. And what I had done since last 5 years, I made it compulsory. Out of 50 hours, 5 hours every teacher must teach from home. So that we practice this blended learning, because it's going to be the future of learning sometimes. So all our teachers were trained to teach on online platforms. Also all our students were also trained to learn with online platforms. So what they did, VisIQ and the CN, they offered almost 379 hours of teaching. Also the teachers provided recorded lectures on different platforms. That was 792. So what happened? Immediately when the lockdown was declared, I had a meeting with my teachers. I said, now this is time to prove your capabilities. You are practicing something which is last 5 years. This time to prove it now. We are practicing that virtual lab facility. It's time to practice that. And then we already had some of our own virtual labs also by that time. And then the teachers, because teachers were tuned to work in this direction, students were tuned to learn from that perspective. So they started offering so many numbers of practicals also. So 600, you will see 379 live lectures, 792 recorded lectures, 653 practicals online mode, and other SWAYAM and other lectures 1033. Total 2857 hours of learning took place in our college immediately on starting of the pandemic. This could happen because we had predicted that online education, or basically hybrid learning, is going to be the future of learning. So why not prepare that? And fortunately for me, the average age of the teachers here is only 30 years. They are highly enthusiastic and ready to accept anything new. Because of that, we could do it. And then when I said, जो भी अभी पिछले 4 साल में किया था वो प्रैक्टिस करने का टाइम आ गया है. So almost 3000 घंटा उन्होंने पढ़ाया. Almost maybe about 100 teachers together. And because of that, probably we were one of the institutes which could take up this in the beginning. But prior to that, we had also tried these MOOCs. You see the data 2015 onwards. Of course, my professor stopped at 19 because after that, she could not compile the data due to pandemics. You will find that in almost that 4 years time, 6,668 courses were taken by the students and teachers together. The whole idea was that you must learn from different paths. It's going to be the need of the time. People used to laugh at me, teachers sometimes used to fight with me, क्या फालतू कहाँ से वैसे प्रिंसिपल पकड़ के लाया है मैनेजमेंट ने, and all those things. But during pandemic, then we realized the importance of this. I used to tell them, आपका job बचेगा. अगर आप ये सब नहीं करोगे, तो you will be out of the job tomorrow. But today the time has come that if we don't do all such things, whether our jobs are permanent, they are government jobs, they are private jobs, temporary jobs, ad hoc jobs, whatever it is. If there are no takers for my skill as a teacher, why someone should keep me on the roll? Now, if I want that I should continue to be on the roll of the education sector, some education institute, then I must acquire the new skills. I must develop myself to satisfy the varying variety of needs of my students, rather than that routine method of teaching learning process. We'll have to have that modular pattern of education, what I was talking. Our colleges will have to implement that. And we as the individuals will have to implement that, because tomorrow if you do this, some of you can be the top class freelancer teachers. I don't need a job of any specific college. By sitting at home, I'll earn $10,000 US per month. Why should I take a small job somewhere? That's possible. Provided I change my mindset as a teacher today. I'm sure my madam would be thinking कि अरे सर यही बोल रहे थे उस टाइम में भावनगर में आते थे लेकिन छोटे
yeah. This is the fundamentally requirement, that how we are keeping changing ourselves to be with the market, to provide the students as per the need of market, and be competitive in this scenario. It is required, sir.
It's required. Thank you, madam. So the only cause, I will end up with this sentence. The only constant thing in our life is change. We must change with the change, otherwise change will change us. And if change changes us, then that change is extremely costly for us. So, thank you very much, madam, for having given me this opportunity to share my views. If there are any questions, we will take up.
Yes, participants may please ask the question if they are facing any difficulty to be with this scenario, to be in this field, while we have to keep us updating with different types of technologies. Because when we will not change with the time, the change will change us and it will be costly, as sir said. If anybody is having query, please put in the chat box or may write me in email if you are not having any query right now. Or if anybody want to ask, can ask directly right now.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
May I know what is this VizIQ and the CN?
These are various online education platforms.
Okay.
VizIQ is a platform developed by a small entrepreneur in Mumbai, but it also is quite effective. If you want, our professors can send the details. But these days we have stopped using VizIQ because now we are shifted to Google Classroom because regularly we have to use it. VizIQ is one of the teaching platform, but it's quite powerful. If you are interested, we had one Sachin Gavani. He has recently left our job and joined a multinational company. He's a computer engineer, but he is working in developing that platform. So if someone is interested, I will share that. And the CN, आप थोड़ा सा Google करके भी देखोगे तो it's an American platform. When we implemented the CN, it was found that about 3,500 users out of 7,000 from India are from Atharva College. And that attracted the, the mind of the CEO of the company. And I had a series of virtual meetings with him. He said we offer to Stanford and California at the rate of $20 per student. But when it comes to Asia, we offer it to Nanyang in Singapore for $10. आपके लिए हम $5 में करेंगे. And हम कह रहे मुझे अमेरिकन प्रोफेसर ने बताया था कि अरे फुकट में करना है, ज्यादा पैसा नहीं खर्चा करना है. So I was not giving him good interest. Then he said, चलो आपको सब फ्री में देते हैं. I'll give you access to everything. You be the ambassador for Asia. That's all. I mean, आप थोड़ा सा गूगल करके देखिए सर, ये सब आपको मिल जाएगा.
Okay.
Platforms you can, if you like, you can use them. They're very powerful platforms. In fact, the CN is a LMS, learning management software. So you can use it because Stanford, Nanyang, California, they all are using it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else who wants to ask anything to sir? Not audible. Who is asking? It is not audible. Hello? I'm not getting the voice. You can put in the chat box. I can read behalf of you, sir or ma'am. Yeah. Not visible yet. Sir, if the participants is sending any query or any question, I will be mailing you and will be reverting back to them with your answer. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Now, may I request Miss Karishma Qureshi, who is a research scholar in Parul University, to present a vote of thanks to Dr. Kallurkar, sir. Miss Karishma, please.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Karishma Qureshi. I am currently pursuing my master's in production from Parul Institute of Technology. Given this opportunity to propose vote of thanks on behalf of all the participants, I would like to thank Dr. Kallurkar sir, for giving us his valuable time, sharing his knowledge and experience with various examples, teaching us what is mass customization and its importance in education system, its impact on marketing, why we need to redesign the process of learning. We have to learn new skills and adopt new methods. And I would also like to thank the faculty for giving me the chance to speak. Thank you very much. Please take care, be safe. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you. Thank you, Kalurkar sir. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you may leave. Yeah.
On personal note, I was telling my wife today कि आज माया मैडम से मुलाकात होने वाली है वर्चुअल
Please convey my regards to her, sir. Please convey.
Yes, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
In fact, Maya madam,
Yes, sir. Yes.
my wife when she visited Bhavnagar in shopping.
Yeah, I gave a company to her,
Very
and
much.
she is really pretty and nice lady too. It was really a very good time to be with her, sir.
Thank
Please
you.
convey my regards, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Participants, you may leave the meeting right now, and we'll be again meeting at the scheduled session today. I will be circulating the link to in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.